So, on this channel, I have been talking about money, about investing, about retirement, and I will continue to. But today, I have to speak a little bit differently. It's January 25th, 2026. I won't be talking about logical dollars and cents today. I'm having a really hard time lately just talking about retirement accounts and Roth conversions and Social Security in the same way. Just because, as the euphemism is, that people say there's a lot going on in the world, and we know what people mean when they say that. And frankly, it's making me not rethink the advice about retirement saving and investing and planning, but rethinking the typical approach that the industry takes. Now, first, it's been a few minutes since I've been posting regularly, and I know this. So some of the time in the fall, I was away because of this. I passed my CFP exam and I got this big certificate here. I actually didn't realize somehow it escaped me that it would be so big. But I'm pretty proud of that thing. I'm excited. It's a good thing. So, got the CFP, put the letters after my name, and I've started doing tax prep at one of the big national tax chains. This is just to learn, because I'm working to get my enrolled agent credential soon, and I'll be saying more about the taxes when I'm learning about that in the future too, because I'm seeing firsthand some very, very interesting and enlightening things. And I'll say more about that some other time. But right now, I can't pretend everything is normal, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, and that's who I'm talking to. Doesn't feel like today we should be talking about Roth conversions, like everything in America is business as usual, because it isn't. And I want to acknowledge that many of you feel afraid for your own futures, for your family's futures. And with so much that we're seeing right now that is chaotic and uncertain. So here's an email that I got from someone the other day. With the crook in chief in full corruption mode, we may just keep our reserves in cash. Now, I understand that for a lot of people, the future looks bleak right now. The present looks bleak. And I'm trying to hold out some hope. And it helps me to watch some YouTubers who help me keep things in perspective. Heather Cox Richardson is somebody I like. Park Rose Permaculture, a couple of my current favorites. They help me stay grounded. But I can't just talk to you about dividend stocks. Like I had a video on the channel here just blew up about dividend stocks because that was something I was working on at the time a few months ago, which is still important. But I can't just talk to you about that or about retirement because so many people right now feel like it's hard to be optimistic, although I want to be. And I think we can again. But the normalcy that many of us took for granted just a few years ago feels like it's gone. And I realize that for a lot of people, they never did feel that sense of security and normalcy. But I do have to acknowledge, like I said before, many people are scared right now about the economy, about politics, about whether the rules are changing in ways that none of us can really control. And often, the natural instinct is to circle the wagons and do the things that feel like you're protecting yourself and your family, like the email I got. It feels like you're protecting yourself to just keep your money in cash right now. And that's part of what the feeling is, right? Hold cash, avoid risk, don't rock the boat, don't do anything that could put what you've worked so hard for at risk. But it is important to remember that traditional retirement planning has always been built on taking some risk. And to be fair, people forget that all the time. Spreading your money between safer assets like short-term, high-quality bonds, I've talked about that a lot, growth assets like stocks that can actually keep up with inflation and the future that you are trying to fund. But the challenge today isn't just market volatility. In fact, markets have been surprisingly stable considering what's going on in the world. The S&P 500 looking at it right now, is up about 14% in the past year after taking a tumble back in the spring of 2025 on fear of tariffs. But it did bounce back. Anyway, a lot of the psychological volatility right now, the fear, is what's making people freeze or maybe retreating into strategies that may feel safe in the short term, but may actually undermine long-term security. So maybe the real question isn't how do I avoid risk? Maybe it's what kind of risk am I willing to live with? That's tough, I know. And I think we're all seeing in real time right now, we can't avoid the risks. We just can't. In the past, like 10 years ago, even in the first term of the current occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Mar-a-Lago, really, I was always reassuring people that no matter who is in the White House, you can be comfortable with an allocated portfolio, with the knowledge of how this type of portfolio has performed historically, with backtesting, throughout plenty of bad news over the decades. And you know what? That's still true. I'm going to say that. That is still true because history has just been fraught with terrible, terrible things. You can go back over the years and see how markets have fallen, risen, and over time continued to rise. But right now, the feels, right? The discouragement, the sadness, the anger, the bleak outlook, it's all real. And to me, it just feels wrong to tell people it'll all be okay, stay the course. It feels really hollow to say that without acknowledging how many of us just feel right now. So is my retirement advice changing? Overall, no. No, it's not. But I understand that if people maybe feel that hoarding some cash, or I should say it in a nicer way, keeping some cash in the bank without investing it is the right thing now, even if that's a feeling and not something grounded in actual market data, I think we need to acknowledge that right now. I understand that protecting money for your own future or your family's future feels like the main thing to do right now. Growth be damned. It's okay right now to take a beat, take a breath, acknowledge that things are not all right, that it feels really empty to be talking about asset allocation and portfolio rebalancing today. Let yourself feel it. But this is another stark reminder. In the United States, we've all been responsible for our own financial well-being for decades. Pensions have largely gone away, right? And the burden has shifted to the individual, which frankly harms a lot of people who are just trying to get by day to day. I understand that. But for those who do have some assets, we do need to take care of ourselves, our families, our communities. Feeling more strongly about that lately. That hasn't changed. But we're seeing in bright, bright lights, blinking bold letters, the government is really not looking out for you and doesn't care. So I'm shifting my focus on this channel a little bit. Yes, I will still talk about financial planning and yes, Roth conversions and asset allocation. But we have to look at this through the lens of how it may feel really scary right now and how to balance those feelings with the actions we need to take, we want to take. Because you will hear a lot of advisors, on the internet or in real life say things like, it's logical, be a robot, your feelings don't matter. You can tell how I'm mocking that. I think it's absolute crap. Your future planning has to acknowledge how you feel, but that doesn't mean making mistakes out of fear or doing something colossally stupid because you think you're somehow sticking it to the regime, because you're not. All right. Thanks for letting me vent a little bit today. I just want to hold this up and show it again. I can get that. There we go. God, that thing is really ginormous, isn't it? That's huge. But hey, it should be. You know what? I'm happy about that. All right. Thank you for watching. hit me up in the comments if there's any way I can help you. Thanks.